welcome back to Husky Media. Today we're going to take a look at configuring our Unifi network and our Unifi security gateway to route VLAN traffic over an OpenVPN client. On this network we're using a USG Pro, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to create an entirely separate LAN network on our Unifi network setup. And in this setup, the network that we create will be on a VLAN on LAN 1. So what I'll show you over here, we're going to go to settings, and to start out we're going to have to do a couple of things. We're going to start by getting our networks set up. So you're going to go into your settings and networks on your Unifi controller, and you're going to want to do two things. First you're going to do is you're going to click create a new network. You can just call it WAN 2 and create another WAN. Now mine's grayed out because I already have done this step. So you're going to do a WAN 2 and you're going to create another WAN, and you'll see, I'll do the edit over here. You'll see that I've set it to DHCP, disabled IPv6, and I have mine set for failover because I don't use WAN 2, but you do have to set it up to recognize some of the rules that we're going to be creating here in the next couple of steps. And so, on that note, after you've done that, you're also going to need to create your additional network. You're going to create what they call a corporate network, and I've already created my VPN network right here. It's 192.168.50.1, and it's a /26 subnet. So, and I selected VLAN 50. You're welcome to do that however you'd like, but you're going to go to create network, corporate, and just a regular LAN. Give it your name, so VPN network, VLAN 50, 192.168.50/1/26. So you'll see that my IP range is 1 to 62, and you can do update DHCP range, and it'll pre-populate that data. And then you can go ahead and hit save. I'm going to hit cancel since I already have it set up. So you've done these two things. I also recommend going into your Wi-Fi networks. This is assuming, of course, that you're using the entire Unifi system, including the Unifi access points. You're going to go into Wi-Fi networks, and there will be a button right down here to create a new Wi-Fi network. You'll see if I look at this group, it's create new wireless network. Okay, and I'll show you the settings that I used for that. So you'll see I created what we call Mammoth VPN with a VLAN of 50. I used whatever security preference that I had. In this case it was WAP personal. You'll enable the network. You'll use VLAN 50, and you can set any other settings the way that you would prefer them. The key here is to make sure that you select the VLAN under advanced options and set it to VLAN 50, or whatever your VLAN is for your VPN network. From here, what we're going to want to do is two things. It's pretty simple. We're going to go to our VPN service provider. In our case, we're using Astrill VPN. I chose Astrill because they have a fast service and they allow 5 simultaneous connections. And this is good for me because I not only use the VPN that the USG creates, that tunnel that it creates, but I also sometimes when I'm out and about like to use a VPN service. And so for that reason, I use Astrill. Astrill's also the fastest that I have found in the price point that has all the features that I want. So you go into tools, and once you're signed in, go to Tools, open Vpn Certificates, Generate Now, and I've already generated my test YouTube certificates, and you can either download the whole glob of them or just a single OVPN file. So I'm going to download just one, and let's download Dallas-2 in this case. Now you can pick any server you want. I'm going to use Dallas-2. Downloaded, boom, done. And we'll hit close window, and we will minimize this. Okay, now I'm going to delete these files here because I already have this running on my system, but just to show you guys what to do. So I'm going to delete those. All right, so we're going to pull this file from our provider, and we're going to rename it. And we're going to call it just Dallas-2. You can call it whatever you'd like. But I'm just going to use Dallas-2-OVPN. And the, well, let's start with the OVPN file. You're going to want to open this up with a text editor. In my case, I'm going to use Text Wrangler. You can use Text Edit. Use any text editor you have on your computer, Windows or Mac. If you're using Windows, you can use Notepad++, which is also free. So what you're going to do is you're going to scroll down here, right under Mac's routes. You're going to hit Enter and go route dash no pool. Okay, and then you're just going to go up and File, Save. That's it. That's all you're going to do. Okay. Now, the next file we have to create is a config file for your USG. Now, I'm going to definitely include this in the not in the comments, sorry, in the all right, so now that we have our OVPN file, we're going to go ahead and create our config.gateway.json file, which is the file that, when stored on your cloud key or wherever your Unifi controller is, this file is what's going to tell your USG what your rules are for routing your traffic. So we're going to create a config file, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to include the contents of this file in the description for the video. If I can create a link that you can download this from, I'll do that. Otherwise, I'll just include the whole thing, or maybe I'll do both just in the description. But what we're going to do is we're going to open up our text editor application, and we have a new document. And I'm going to open this file in text edit, just as you would get it. And you're just going to copy and paste this whole thing. What did I do? Yikes. Okay, here we go. So we pasted it in here. Now, just so it formats it properly here, we're going to come over here, and we are creating a JSON file. There we go. Okay, just so we can all see what it looks like. Now, it is very, very important to get all of our brackets in. So when you collapse it down, it should all collapse together. Okay. Now, a few things to note that you'll have to change to your specific instance of the install. First one is over here, the source address has to match what you did in setup. I'm going to show you real quick in networks. So it has to match what you did over here. The difference is we did a 192.168.50.1. You have to make sure that over here it's 192.168.50.0. If yours is 24.0 or a different addressing style, you need to make sure that you properly transpose that over. The next thing is over here in interfaces, under VIF, you're going to have your VLAN ID. I used VLAN 50, that's why I've used a 50 here. If you use VLAN 35, make sure to change that to a 35. Whatever your VLAN is, you need to change that there, okay? The only other thing you're going to have to change is the name of your OVPN config file. But that is very dependent on where you locate it on the USG. Now the OVPN file has to be stored on the USG. So for both uploading the config file and the and the OVPN file, I'm going to use FTP option. So I'm going to point that out over here. So what I did is I already FTP'd into the USG on the left one, and on the right I have FTP'd into my Cloud Key. Now if you have the instance running on a computer for Cloud Key, there are other ways to get into that. You can just navigate to it, but in my case I had to FTP in because it is a actual Cloud Key. So let's start with the USG on the left. So for the USG, what we're going to do is we are going to navigate to config, and I have a folder called OpenVPN. If you don't already have an OpenVPN folder, you will need to create it. Chances are you won't have it unless you already have done an OpenVPN setup for your USG. You're going to open that, and then you're going to just drag your file over. It's just a drag and drop, or maybe slightly different depending on your FTP client. I will open the VPN file that's on my USG just to show you the change that I made on it. We're going to hit on close here. So you'll see route-no pool. Okay. So I'm going to close this. Don't save. All right. So that's done. Now, our important step. On your Cloud Key, you're going to go to Serve, SRV, Unifi, Data, Sites, and you need to know which site to click on. Now, if you only have one site running, it's going to be default. If you have a different site running, the way to note that is when you're in Unifi, once you've gone to the site you select, you're going to see up here when you go to your dashboard that in the address it is manage site default. Okay? And that is how you know which site to select over here. So I'm going to go into default, and you see my config.gateway.json is already here. Now we were creating that just a moment ago in Text Wrangler, and I accidentally closed it out. So I need to open up my little text file, copy it back over. And we already talked about those things that you might want to edit depending on if your configuration is slightly different. Make sure though that this config file location is as we just discussed. So it is in the root/config/openvpn/ and then the file name Dallas-2.openvpn or OVPN, sorry. So if all that's good, you're going to go up to File, you're going to go Save, and see it already has the .json extension. We're going to do config.gateway and hit Save. So I stored it to the desktop. Boom, it's right there. Navigate to it. All you've got to do is copy it over. And once it's copied over, I'll even show you that the file I have on here. Boom. It's the exact same file. Okay, nothing different. Not trying to trick anybody. It's exactly the same. So now, what you're going to do is you're going to go into the Unifi controller, go to Settings, or actually no, go to Devices, sorry. Go to the USG, go to Config, Manage Device, Force Provision. When you force provision the device, it will restart and it will push that config.gateway.json file configuration onto your USG. Your USG may take a little longer to start than normal because it has to take this file in. Once it's done though, what you want to do is you want to connect to your, whoops, we're going to actually pull this right back up. You're going to want to connect to that VPN service. Now to show you, currently I am not. I will show you network Okay, so I have 2 Ethernet connections. I'm actually going to turn this one off. I have this one here running on a 192.168.179. And you will see that when I run the test, it says it's vulnerable. And that's because the IP address belongs to Comcast cable. Now, if I were to come on over here, turn that off, and turn on my Wi-Fi, and we're going to connect to that VPN network we created earlier. I'm not going to remember that. Boom. Okay, so that's being configured, right? No IP, blah, blah, blah. We give it a moment. It's going to pull an IP of 192.168.50.58. So we're good. And now we're going to refresh this page. And now that we've refreshed the page, we're going to hit run standard test. It's analyzing. We give it a moment. It is secure. This is the IP, and it belongs to My Server Planet Limited. So this goes to show that you have successfully created your VPN connection. Now you can go ahead and make sure that, hey, you can access google.com and maybe apple.com. Use whatever sites you need to make sure that your connection is indeed working. All right, I hope this video has helped. If it has, please hit that like button and subscribe so we can keep creating more content. And we look forward to you watching our next video.